Okay, hello. All right, Labian. All right, charity ideas. So there's a couple I think that I would like to talk about. But again, if you want to grab a calculator, you can walk through this, but it's pretty simple. So 8 billion people for the planet, about 400 billion, or excuse me, million for the United States. That's where I am, and we're happy to be here. So let's just say every person in America gave 50 cents, right? You got $200 million. Let's say every person gave $5, right? Now you're at $2 billion. Okay. One of the ideas that we're going to do is uh, is take this 200 million to 2 billion, going to put it in a business and do an investment. Um, and we're going to take that money and we're going to put that into a charity, with app or phone number or website, whatever it needs, just whatever seems the easiest or is the most fluid process or whatever for the end user. And we're going to give away $1 million a month. All right. So that's Billy's broken arm. That's food bill, registration for your car, uh, you know, antifreeze when you broke down, brand new radiator when I had to fix, all of these types of things. So basically just the policy do no harm, so as long as the money is being spent for good and decent reason. um, we can do this. Like I said, the numbers are proven. I've worked on them already, so it's no big deal. um, anyway, it's pretty simple, and it backs up our policy as well. And this is another one of the policies, is that we honor human rights and we honor inalienable rights. So life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Basically, something that doesn't damage or take away from you. So, any church or charity that supports those, as far as their beliefs, we're for them. That's fine, and that's what we're sticking with here with the money. So, um, like I said, probably an app at the end of the day is going to be the easiest. I imagine an app and a phone number. It's going to cost some to have people answering the phones, logging the information, system built for all of that stuff. But we'll put that in the correct place. But $1 million a month is pretty exciting. It's something that's totally doable. And, in the end of the day, like Salvation Army, they not only do those bell ringers, a lot of them are homeless who need a check and don't have a check like any other way, right? Except to stand there. Um, they're they're giving to a worthy place, right? So these people have for a very long time gone the extra mile and have become, a standard in the charitable industry. So pretty exciting. Anyway, but your 50 cents matters. So like a little change in the pocket, no big deal. Everybody can get behind that. So that's one thing. The other thing is a much bigger piece, and this is for government itself. So there are it's a five-way deal, and it goes like this. So solar, LED, right? These save energy. Okay. Then we talked about one of the videos. We need food. All right. We also need shelter. Okay, to live, and we need jobs. All right. So job is a service or something I make, or basically something I make or something I do that is of value to you, and somebody purchases this, says, "Hey, that seems good. Let me try." All right. So, um, if we took, if the United States or actually any major country, and at the time that we get to present this, we're gonna try to do this on a larger scale. But let's say you did enough solar to save, I don't know, a couple $1 billion a year. All right. So this is a savings in energy. This is not, we spend money, to build these panels, to install these panels, to maintain these panels. We may already have workers in place, but they already have paychecks, right? So this is already, all of these things are costs. It's cost, cost, cost. So we go from there, but we say, hey, we got the savings. We've got a few $1 billion. All right. LEDs in the United States, and I suggest that we spend about $1 million to find. So this is like spectrum and nanometers, and it gets a little sciencey. But to find a safe wavelength that is, the right kind of brightness, a pleasant color, a non-harm, all of these things, right? So we got to tick all those boxes. Um, so we spend a little bit of cash doing that, but if we converted, right? If we converted our street lights to LED, it's roughly $1.6 billion saved a year just in the country, right? So that's a little bit of savings, and we're going to take the savings, okay, and now we're going to put it boom, boom, boom back into these 5 things: solar, LED, food, housing, and jobs. Okay, this is all underneath government, all right, so it's completely government controlled. And the food program would be the same guidelines as the food program that we talked about in the other video. The housing program would cover any number of things, and it's very thick. If you're talking retired, disabled, silver servant, possibly even Section 8, and these are houses that the government owns, and basically, so in a nutshell, my tax dollar covers your benefit program, right? So I go out and work, and X number of dollars from my taxable income, that goes and that makes these programs available to you. Okay. Well, keeping that underneath government and watching it until we have met, so there's a balance need line, right? So I'm not going to go past it and affect the private market, but we have a need, so we need these houses, right? All right. So that's the general information without going into great detail. And the last one is the jobs program. So jobs are going to benefit us from taxable income again, lack of people in unemployment, and then this is not really a point because we are trying to assist people, but people who are receiving assistance because of lack of employment. Okay, so all said and done, the numbers roll out to roughly at max. You can pretty easy get about $5 billion annual, right? Um, so this is $5 billion, but we can, if we do this correctly, all right, we can set this so that it happens every single year and it happens forever, right? So we never ever have to miss a tick on this. And why this is important is because 500 years from now, when I'm spending 1,000 times $1 million on housing for my country, I have, just for instance with the housing, first year the rental income from the housing completely covered all the workers necessary to operate this portion of the government. Year two, I'm easily, but let's just round it to like I'm plus 100 million. Year three, I'm not cost plus 100, I'm now 200. So I'm cost plus 200. Year four, 300. Year five, 400, and so on and so forth. So like by year 500, I'm in really nice numbers. Let's assume that all of the peacekeeping nations of the earth decide that this is a great idea. All right, anybody can adopt this, and nobody has a loss in their country, right? So if we said Istanbul the other day, if France did this, right? If France has like the biggest success in the world over this, it does not ever negatively affect the United States or any other country. Okay, so that's a huge plus. All right, this plus the international work shelter idea, and I will spend some time going into that again. Um, but that's basically the numbers lead to about a 5% global market increase, so global economic increase of 5%. All right, so everybody's up for 5%, and that's as far as the assistance programs. What we want to do, we're trying to level out the first basically like step or two of finances and of living, right? So we're evening the score, we're raising the ground. So we don't affect, the middle class and the upper class and lower class. We're making it easier for the little guy to get up to a livable standard, right? Um, but it's planned in such a way that it does not, negatively affect, other markets and so on. So, but that's pretty excellent. So, food we kind of explained, all right. The housing market is pretty self-explanatory. So if you're within this program already, we will alert you to this new possibility, right? So you're like, hey, uh, I'm on disability. Let's say you're like 70, all right. So you've passed the retirement age. You're on disability. So you're within the Medicare niche, and you're doing all this stuff, right? But you don't have, a suitable housing available that's either suitable, number one, or to your liking. We're talking about good, well controlled buildings, especially with this new problem that's going on. We're going to have better air filtration and other things as a necessity to basically to keep people, alive and quality of life increase. Right? So the third one, though, is jobs market, and we can get into this a little bit later. But the jobs market, I would like to split in half, and I'd like to go 500 and 500. So I want to do 500 in something that we already do, as a nation and as charitables and even businesses, and those are people that are living and breathing, and they help you find a job, right? Okay, so this is a current job. It's out there in the market. Somebody needs you for something, and these people say, you know, hey, Billy from Saskatchewan, do you know how to do X number of things? And they say, oh, yeah, I have that. So they hook them up with a great job. The other half, kind of like the food for national emergency and etc. This is a job creation. So if I need roads fixed and so and so city doesn't have the budget for it, we automatically deduct that, and now we have a safe and usable road, right? Um, Safe and usable roads and sewers are a big deal. Any of these big utility type things that keeps the city going, and any type of slowing that you have there, or high maintenance cost or lack of, can seriously affect the economic market within that city and then in your country. So once again, I'd like to go half and half. So find what's available, and then money aside to just say, hey, oops, national disaster. What a terrible time, but we have these funds, and immediately we can send these people and take care of them. So that's sort of the deal, but it's a big deal, and again for another video. But the going back to solar is a big thing. We're getting there. We're at a much better percentage of effectiveness than we used to be. So like, you spend, 50 grand, 10 years ago, and you were getting quite a bit less power is basically what that works out to be. The other issue, and this works hand in hand with these new electric vehicles and so forth, is that global warming, right? It's just that. It's the globe getting warmer, right? Well, what people don't talk about is that the engine in your vehicle, the engine in your semi that drove by you on the freeway, those are hot, right? Those are combustible engines, okay? They move by causing, basically burning a flammable fluid, and it pushes a rod, and that turns something, and that then turns your wheels, right? Okay, so electric cars can be less warm, right? There's less heat from them, plus the pollution. So the pollution is something. It's spitting carbon out into the air, and it's doing stuff, and that's a real thing. But the actual engine heat, and a couple of years ago, 80% of the goods that you receive here in the US of A come by a semi truck. So we need those, right, to keep going around and around. But the longer that they run, and they run 24 hours a day all over the place, the more heat that we have. Okay, well, LED in a much smaller fashion is also like that. So there's a few proclivities, and I think test marketing would be again necessary. But let's pick somewhere that's hot all the time. So Phoenix, for instance. All right. So if you were to completely convert, um, you are saving a percentage of heat, right? Well, that percentage of heat hits in the air. That air that's warm warms the ground, the rocks, the buildings, okay? So a little bit warmer. So we would actually have a little bit lower temperatures in Phoenix, which would make the summertime a little bit easier. All right. But if we converted, nationwide, it's like I said, it's about $1.6 billion, and that's good usable money. So I'm not charging you, the civilian or standard person as a country. I'm not charging you anymore. And within this program, easily I can give you a penny off a month. That's not a big deal. Um, but we're lowering, you know, the warming temperature of our planet. So it's a serious thing. Um, and there's all kinds of people and all kinds of conversations just all over the place about global warming. But basically, we want to be in a good eco stance. Something that's this will be healthy for you. If it's not something you can eat, and if it's not something you can bathe in, let's start to generally move away from those things. Um, so that's something that we can do. It's tangible. We can do it very, very slowly. You could even start, you can start that plan with as little as $50 million worth of solar. So a solar company could say, hey, I will front you this $50 million of solar products plus this install. You give me the percentage on the back, right? So let's say you save $10,000, you give me $8,000 until I'm all paid up, and then they get installation, and so all the costs are involved. Um, but you give me my money back. I fronted it to you. Basically the company has just signed up with the most stable check possible, which is the government. So they're not going to be hurting. The government gets a huge benefit, and everybody can basically benefit because we're moving a little bit more in the direction of eco. You would be surprised at how much coal is dug up, right, to heat all these power plants. It's amazing, right? That's being burnt and that's being sent into the air. But the big deal is that we're spending money on oil driven and gas running machines to dig that coal out of the ground, to transport that coal, and then to burn that coal, which is burning something that was on this planet, right? Why not convert as little natural resource as possible, like solar, and for sure in a few years or several years there may be something that's really, really amazing, and it's so much better than solar is now, but at least it's a step in the right direction. So the point is, we're not burning a natural resource. Like there is a timetable on oil, and there is the gas tank is at a certain level, and we don't know what that is, right? Nobody can definitely say, okay, well, I stuck this thermometer in the ground, and I know that we have X amount of oil forever. Well, that would be foolish, and we need to be, as smart humans, we need to be planning ahead for that moment. So, for instance, the finite oil is a subject, and it sounds scary and weird, and it doesn't have to be at all. Um, but the last thing is some sort of manufacturing, right? So I make these little parts, right, using oil while I'm cutting it out and while I'm setting it up and putting it together. We need to have oil set aside to do those things and not to burn, um, because we're basically digging, and we're using up the bits of our planet, and it'd be nice to keep it as solid as possible. So I didn't mean to go off on an eco tangent there, or sound like like a crazy eco power guy. I'm not at all, and it's honestly it's just whatever's the truth, and whatever's the best long term for everybody is really where that ends up. But that's totally something that we can do. It's possible, and I've even in part, I've proposed part of this, and I'm even now waiting to hear back from government about that. So that could be really exciting, and it's a very special thing because we have sort of a window where we can use this money and reinvest it to do something else that then does something for us. So in time, it could be a really big benefit and just super wonderful. So anyway, really happy to bring another subject to you, and let's hope that we can all advance together and make sure that we have the longest life and that and the best life possible, not only for us but for for our kids ahead. So thanks so much.